Hello, everyone. I am Philip, father of Andrew and William and Jacob. I want to thank you for your support in our campaign to renew contact with Jacob. In the beginning, we had no idea if anyone would notice. Your responses have truly given us renewed hope. As we have started our exploration of this medium, I have been amazed and appalled by how widespread and brazen this form of child abuse is. I have been so proud of Andrew and William in all this. They really have taken this campaign farther and faster than I could have ever hoped for. The original idea for a web page for Jacob was mine, but the implementation and the Facebook page were all Andrew. He has been phenomenal. In terms of detractors, other than Gloria's daughter's in-laws, we have only had two, both women, both who immediately assumed the truth of things was I was alienating Andrew and William from Gloria. Well, while I can assure you that this is not the case, it should be obvious from Andrew's videos regarding parental alienation that he knows this subject very well. Those of you who have corresponded with him can speak to his rationality, I'm sure. This video is not about answering those who have already decided before they know the facts of the situation. There will always be those kind. There's no point to try and convert them. This video is for you, our supporters. Some of you who have asked, what was my role in Andrew and William's alienation from Faye, their birth mother? After all, as their father, I was there. And this is very much a valid question. You deserve to hear my story while I try and keep this concise and not to sugarcoat my behavior. Just bear in mind, I am looking at it from the perspective of 12 years trying to sort it out in a way that makes sense. Bear with me as I share some history. I will start in March, April of 2001. The four of us were living in Chandler, Arizona, just outside of Phoenix. While Faye and my marriage had been rocky for the previous year, she had seemed happier and we had had fewer disagreements or conflicts for almost a year. This is at a point where I was becoming very optimistic. And then Faye's boyfriend contacted me, telling me all about their nearly year-long affair, complete with evidence. I was stunned. Being an engineer by training, I tried to fix things, but of course that was not possible. And predictably, I became angry and hurt. Hindsight being what it, hindsight being what it is, I now realize she was very unhappy, and she reached out and found her happiness. How could this go on so long without me realizing it? I was an IT systems consultant. My boss's office was in Dallas. My work week went like this: Sunday night or early Monday, I would fly out. Friday evening, I flew home. I used to joke my office was Sky Harbor Airport. Excuse me, my throat was getting dry. There was a second challenge. I have MS, multiple sclerosis, and I was on a once-a-week medication, interferon A. It's really nasty stuff. So I would inject on Friday evening, be miserable for the weekend, and start to come around by Monday, just in time to go back to work. This lasted for a few months until I could no longer tolerate the side effects. So I encouraged Faye to go out dancing with her girlfriend and do other things she liked to do, but I was not feeling up to doing with her. In the meantime, this gave me one-on-one time with Andrew and William, a net plus for everyone, I thought. I knew both girls were married, neither liked to drink, and both loved to dance. Seemed like a win-win situation. However, this is how she met her then boyfriend. After he contacted me, of course, I knew his goal was for me to divorce her so he could marry her. When pressed, she refused to give him up. She ultimately moved out and stayed with him. He was in the service and being reassigned to New Mexico, so that was where she was going. We did not have lawyers in our divorce. We went to legal aid office and they helped us together with all the paperwork, both of us at the same table going through all the documents one at a time, having them explain and their meanings and filling in the blanks. I didn't get sole custody of the boys because I had a better lawyer or took advantage of her in some way. She knew I would take care of them without fail, and she had her new life she wanted to pursue. I'm not trying to imply she did not want them, not at all, but she wanted her freedom, at least for a while. So she agreed and signed for me to have full custody. In late August, when the divorce only had 2 months before being final and all was completed, I started thinking about all the realities of being a single parent, as well as being lonely. I started to look to the internet for a girlfriend. That is where Gloria found me. And very quickly we began to communicate all the time. She showed a lot of interest in my boys, was concerned about their well-being, solicitous of me. It was great. We planned for her to come visit in November from Singapore, and then we would determine if face-to-face we were as compatible as we were via the internet. Seemed like a good plan. If so, she would return to Singapore, settle her affairs there, and bring her 2 teenage children back to the U.S., and we would get married here. She arrived November 9th, 2001. Everything went great. She took to the boys and proceeded to help my efforts to correct their diet. It had been atrocious. Worked on teaching William to read better. She was an early childhood educator. So many little things that she taught them in terms of their academic education. After 2 weeks, my household was reorganized and more stable, more Ozzie and Harriet-like. So much so, more than I could have hoped for. At that point, she suggested we could save a lot of money if we brought her 2 kids over now and got married now without her having to go back first. We talked about it for a week or so and agreed, and I agreed with her. It just made sense. So on December 3rd, 2001, we were married in a civil ceremony at the courthouse in Arizona. She would claim for years she did not fall in love with me at first, rather with Andrew and William. And I was happy for that at the time, as I had read many articles stating how difficult it is for a man to find a woman who would accept him as a single parent. This is when the first alienation started, I think. I had an elderly lady, Sally, a friend of Faye, who helped me on occasion with the boys. Gloria convinced me we did not need any help, as she would be there full-time to take care of everything at home. So while it was not immediate, Sally was cut out. Gloria started this simply by doing everything for me and the boys, leaving nothing for Sally to do. In front of me, she was not hostile, simply solicitous. Why did I allow this? Well, Sally had been part of the keeping Faye's adultery quiet, along with some financial issues, and as nothing overly hostile was involved, it seemed logical. It was at this point Gloria and Faye began to be in conflict. Both when Faye came infrequently to see the boys and on the phone. Most of this took place when I was at work, but on occasion I saw it. It always appeared to be worse than Gloria would describe, and she always had reasons why it was the way it was. Always in terms of Faye abandoning her children, and other malfeasances. You have to remember, I was in the end stages of divorce where I felt completely betrayed and found out several issues that were done which caused many issues for me and the boys over time. Not trying to blame Faye for my mistakes, just trying to establish my mindset, my point of view at the time. Obviously I was very angry, so it was not difficult to be convinced of many things. And to be fair, during Faye's affair, there were things she did in order to hide things from me that were truly wrong. And Gloria would bring this up again and again and again, always stoking my anger, not letting it die down. January 2002, we found out Gloria was pregnant. An oops baby, an unplanned blessing. All 6 of us, my boys, Gloria's 2 children, as well as Gloria and myself, were excited. The baby would give us all a common point and make us a family of 7. Frankly, for me, a dream come true. I was offered a job in Michigan where I was from, and at her encouragement, Gloria's encouragement, we moved. Jacob was born August 8th, 2002 in Lansing, Michigan. I believe now she encouraged us to move from Arizona to Michigan because that put 1,500 miles between Faye and Andrew and William, making it much more difficult for her to visit and disrupt their relationship with Gloria. Anyway, this video is supposed to be about my talking about alienation. It really started after our wedding. Always she was talking as an expert, an early childhood educator. It is not good for the child to force them to talk to the parent who abandoned them. That was her theme, always phrased as, you should not force them. They will do what is right if Faye really loves them. In the meantime, Gloria was consistently solicitous of the boys in front of me, and they loved the attention. What I was unaware of was her running down Faye to them when I was at work. Run down Faye and then say, Mama will take care of you. And very quickly they began to call Gloria Mom and Faye by her first name, largely to please Gloria. As I understand now, after a while Faye quit calling when I was not at home. The boys were always uncomfortable when she called. I know now they felt crushed in the middle. Frankly, I should have understood more of what they were going through. As they began to reject Faye more and more, and Gloria explained it in child psychology terms, I bought into it. But I realized much of her explanations fell into things I was very willing to believe. When the boys started to show serious distress when Faye called, I gradually stopped insisting they talk to her. They were such loving boys, it seemed to me to be cruel on my part to insist they talk to her or that they must tell her their feelings. Gloria was just smug and would take an I told you so attitude over it and say nothing. Always after one of these calls, she was very solicitous of the boys. I became an enabler. In the same way the boys, having been alienated, participated in their own alienation from their mother. For me, I just wanted this tragedy to end. Gloria seemed like she had the answers. I largely left the boys under her control. Over the years, her mask started to slip. She became more controlling and hostile in so many ways. I found half my role as a parent became mitigating the hostility with the 3 boys. It became a litany. I would say, your mother loves you. She's just upset. Ignore the noise. Look for the nuggets of truth in her words. She is trying to teach you something. Find out what that is and take that to heart. This became almost daily after 2010. I am quite confident Jacob hears nothing but the trashing of his two brothers and his father. Fear of abandonment is heightened, fear of retribution if he communicates with us, and the sense he only has her and her enablers, which there are very few of, in his life, or his life will end. This is her pattern with Andrew and William, and I played a part in that, there is no doubt. In my next video, I will finish up on the loose ends regarding alienation and life in Singapore and events there. When we moved there, why we moved there, pretty much all about Singapore. One other issue that needs to be explained is why when I left Singapore, and why I took Andrew and William with me, but not Jacob. The key point in that is that Singapore and the US are signatories of the Hague Treaty on Parental Kidnapping. If I had taken him, I would lose him forever because I would be arrested for kidnapping. That's the short story. But I will talk about this more in my next video. Thank you all for your attention. For all of those of you who have liked our webpage and our Facebook page, thank you so much. You have raised us to over 600 likes already in such a short time. For those of you who have shared it out, you have my undying gratitude. We need help to make this become more and more well known, and so that Jacob can see on his own, unbiased support around the world. Thank you again, and God bless.